Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you everybody for coming today for the press conference. And I also want to take an opportunity to thank everyone who voted and participated in the community engagement process and took the time to learn about the sales tax proposal. The outcome of the vote is now known, and it's time for us, your city's elected representatives and leaders, to move forward and address the concerns that are not going away. Concerns that were identified as part of a 2-year engagement process, concerns that were identified in more than 100 plus meetings, and concerns that must be addressed to move our city forward. Wichita is a great city, a great place to work, to live, to educate our children. We can't let disagreements over the outcome of the vote divide our community or prevent us from working together. We still need to address 4 key community priorities. We must improve our water supply. We know that the demand is expected to increase by 7 billion gallons by the year 2060. Projections tell us that we still need $250 million to fund a new water supply. We must serve those who rely on transit. We have many citizens who depend on public transportation to get to work, school, medical appointments, and buy food and other necessities. But due to revenue shortages, declining federal funds, and higher operation costs, Wichita Transit cannot continue to operate at its existing level of service. We have some tough decisions to make. We need to improve our infrastructure. We need better neighborhood streets. We already fund street repairs at $8 million a year, but we know that that is not enough for a growing city. Without the sales tax funds, it will be no longer able to repair some of the worst neighborhood streets. And we ask for your patience and your support. We need more diversity in our economy. That starts with better job growth. 1% job growth is unacceptable for a city of our size and our potential. Wichita has some of the most skilled and the best workers in the world, and we need much better jobs and growth to keep them here in our community. Yes, the sales tax was rejected last night, but these challenges will not defeat us. The City Council and I will explore the next steps to address several real, very serious issues. We will also continue to engage you and come together to find solutions for these community priorities. But this is not just about Wichita. These decisions affect the South Central Kansas region, and I'm asking our neighbors to continue to help in efforts to create jobs, improve infrastructure, and enhance the overall value of our region at a time of increased competition. We will continue to expand and enhance our engagement process. It is my hope that employers, civic groups, citizens will continue to participate in the days ahead. We will continue to discuss next steps. We want to hear from you, all of you. The clock is ticking for Wichita, and we must act in an urgent manner while competing cities are moving forward. It is up to us as a city, as a county and region, to position Wichita to be the best that it can be today and for the future. Future generations together can find solutions for our community, and we can move our community forward, and we can do great things together. I want to thank you for coming to the press conference today, and at this time, I'll take any questions.
Well, Mayor, what is the big concern here? Obviously, going into the vote, we knew that water rates might go up, property taxes were another option if this didn't pass, and now that we have this reality, what are some of those realities maybe for people out there?
Well, the realities is, certainly it's funding. And what we do is we'll go back and we'll evaluate, hear what citizens have to say. And okay, we recognize that you may not be able to do 4 items, the first 4 items that were identified. So which one do we do? Which one can we afford to do? And so the city council and the citizens of Wichita will evaluate that process and come back, and we'll actually work on it. We're going to continue the community engagement and continue talking to citizens, and we're asking everyone to give input on it. And we recognize that the issue of water is not going to go away. We saw last year what can happen when we have a drought, and we certainly have streets that we have to address, but we also have to figure out how we're going to address and diversify our employment and with jobs here. 1% growth is it's difficult when we're competing against other cities.
Carl, historically, property tax increases have been off the table with this council. Are they still?
As I see it, and certainly council will certainly have to evaluate it, but as I see it, the city council is sensitive to those types of things, and we'll do everything in our power to make sure that we don't do that. But I'm not going to tell you that it's not off the table, because it's certainly one of those tools that's in our toolbox.
Is there a chance that some of these things could come back onto as a ballot measure in the future, but separate instead of bundled?
I honestly can't tell you. Right now, the city council has to evaluate what's going on, what our status is, what the priorities are, and we certainly have to hear from citizens in the community before we move that direction.
But Mary, this wasn't even close. It wasn't. There's nothing close about it. When you say hearing from the people, didn't you really hear from the people resoundingly that they don't want taxes, they don't want higher taxes, and it seemed that there was a feeling that, don't we already pay for some of these things, whether street improvements or even improvements maybe in water through rates and things like that? Didn't that come through pretty strong? And does it make you want to step back and, hey, we really need to parse this and find out? We've touched on something that, and we're on the losing side. It wasn't even close.
Well,
it's like
I don't.
Sweep.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
The city council wasn't on the losing side, and the reason being is because we asked for citizens to give us input. And they gave us input and identified these are the things that are important to us as a community. And the city council made the decision, okay, let's allow the citizens to vote on it. That's the extent that the city council and the role that they actually play. So we heard what the citizens had to say. Certainly that's a rule that we can measure by. And from that standpoint, we go back and we evaluate and we figure out exactly how do we do this. And it's through various different budgets and things of that nature. It's no different than your home and whether the family should take a family vacation.
Looking back, do you feel like you actually heard from the citizens in total? Because the community engagement numbers were relatively small, poll-like actually, as I recall. Do you need to hear from more people to get a more accurate picture of what the citizens want?
Well, certainly the more people that you hear from, the better the poll is going to be. And the way that was done is we gave citizens that opportunity. If you would like to hear and you'd like to give us your input, then we didn't ask them to come to City Hall. The staff in the city went to them, to their location. And whether that was a coffee shop meeting or a neighborhood association, homeowners association, or just some civic organization. So we went to them, and that's how we were able to come up with the various different meetings. Individuals that were interested and individuals that were concerned, certainly invite them, and we were able to capture that information from there.
Do you feel like you got to enough people as a result of that, based on what happened last night?
Well, I know that the population in the city of Wichita is 380 some odd thousand people, and I know that we didn't have 380 something thousand people, so you're never going to get everybody. But certainly we do everything in our power to try to reach out to everyone, even with the social media, and recognizing we didn't have those. We did the Facebook and we did the Twitter and all these other different things, and asking citizens what would you like to see and what's important to you. So we did the best that we possibly could.
Well,
Yes, sir.
At what point do you draw the line between, okay, you guys are elected, you have access to more information than the public does.
Mhm.
You're elected to make these decisions. At what point do you keep taking the opinion poll and decide what you want to do as opposed to just do what you, as elected officials, decide what's best because you get more information than the general public?
Well, as elected
They can
officials.
provide all they want, but they apparently can't.
Uh-huh. As elected officials, it's our duty and responsibility to listen to the citizens each and every day. And certainly, any and everything that they have to say, whether we agree or disagree, is important to each and every one of us. So, anytime they are able to provide us that, we should continue to try to reach out and try to find ways to be able to talk to them. I know my colleagues spend a lot of time with the citizens in their neighborhoods and in their districts and talking to them about issues that are going on in the city itself and talking with them, and also with a lot of civic organizations. So I think that the biggest thing is that we try to continue to keep that communication line of communication open and talking with them.
Yeah, but my point was about you guys have more information than the public does. You have access. Right?
Yes.
To disseminate, so you have sometimes have to make decisions that the public might not vote.
Yeah, and sometimes we do have to do that, but the other portion is we try to communicate and explain to citizens why we made the decision that we made. Most often you see a lot of cases during city council meetings, council members are asking questions, and they already know what the answer is. The purpose of it is so the citizens can understand and they can know what they know. But all the time, city council members are going to do their homework and they're going to be informed and knowledgeable of much more than most citizens. And it's our job to try to make sure that we communicate that to citizens as to what it is. But at the end of the day, sometimes the tough decisions have to be made.
Mayor, on that note, of these 4 items, is Wichita Transit likely to feel the wrath first, just because it is something that we as a community have struggled to support? And can you talk about that issue in particular as we move forward? Because some of these items, it seems, could still get decided down the line, but that is an issue that would really not be able to function under its current funding.
I can't say that Wichita Transit would be the first thing that would actually feel the wrath. Certainly you have streets and we have other things. The city of Wichita has a budget of approximately $535 million. And so we have to figure out exactly what we can do and what we can't do. And so the citizens will assist us in helping us make that decision as to, what's the first thing that we should be focusing on and what the last thing is, or what's not a priority. They will help us work through that process.
But budgetary-wise, do we have, because we don't have the funds, and we have been struggling with funding transit for some time.
That is correct.
Okay, we'll take a few more questions. Keep in mind, we have other council members in attendance.
Well, just your feelings about this issue. I mean, I know we got some of that last night, but you guys put on a lot of work for the last several years talking to the community, and just your reaction to that vote last night.
Well, certainly, as I said, we appreciate the engagement process of talking to citizens, finding out what's important to them. And last night was just part of that process. We put it on the ballot, let the citizens cast their vote, and they tell us what they want. After they tell us what they want, then it's our responsibility to go back to the table and say, okay, this is how we move forward. And the way the city council is planning on moving forward is getting back with citizens, identify, okay, we're not going to do a sales tax, but what's the most important thing to you that we need to have today? And we need to also let them know what we believe is the most important, because we have some very important things that affect the quality of life in our community. And certainly not just the people that live here, but also in businesses and other communities surrounding us. So we'll go back and we'll get that information all figured out. And but the citizens did what they were supposed to do. They came out and they voted. And the citizens voting, and then that's information and feedback for us in telling us what directions we need to go.
I know you want to hear from the public, but do you as a group have a sense of one of these that you're going to prioritize to try and tell people, hey, this is, without the sales tax, it's probably tough to do all these at one time. Is there an issue? Is it water? Is it infrastructure? Do you guys have something you feel like you need to prioritize to the community as the greatest need right now?
If you take the city council, we actually will weigh on those quality of life things, on what's important. And I can't necessarily say that there's one that's more important than the other. And I think if you ask council members, well, what's important to you? Certainly no one's going to argue with you about water, but then you start going, jobs, transit, or my neighborhood streets. And so you're going to get different opinions. And that's why we use the community engagement process to be able to define that and to hone it in and what's best for the citizens of the city of Wichita. I'll see if any of my colleagues, Vice Mayor, do you have any comments?
You know, just like you said, Mayor, I think the public,
Please.
just as you said, Mayor, the public did exactly what we asked them to do. They showed up at the polls, they voted on the items, and we appreciate that. I think our job as city leaders is just like any corporation or company, we're on about toward continuous improvement, and we're learning through our engagement process and continuing to learn and continue to get the feedback and find out exactly, what constituents want and what the folks of the city want. We still have a great city. We're still all very optimistic about our city's future. We just want to go on the route of continuous improvement and see that we're doing everything that we can to continue leading Wichita in a positive direction.
Longwell, you have anything?
Yeah, I'll also add that we're not giving up either on the jobs front. The city has contracted with a group that's going to reach out. We've teamed with REAP, we've teamed with Wichita State University, we've teamed with Sedgwick County Commission to look at different job cluster opportunities in our area. We are very optimistic on what the Innovation Campus at WSU can bring to our community in terms of new jobs, diverse economies. So there's no one giving up at this point. There are a number of things that are going to continue. Now, we're going to have to, as the mayor said, take a look and reevaluate and stay engaged with the community and figure out that priority list and how we can go back and assess and bring some of those things to fruition. If you just look at it from a budget standpoint, yes, transit's probably in the most peril initially, because we know that they're going to be short of money come 2016, 2017. And so we're going to have to address these fairly quickly. Do we think that we're going to run out of water tomorrow? That's hard to predict. I mean, the reality is if we don't have a drought, we're going to have water, but who wants to sit here and predict whether we have another drought in 3 more years? So we need to reevaluate. We're not giving up. There are things that we're doing today that we think is going to help our community, and we want to see some of those things play out also.
Councilman Miller?
Will you be engaging, you think, I guess the opposition, the coalition? I mean, they were saying last night, hey, we don't want to go away as a group and we'll be speaking on issues. Is that, how do you view that?
Certainly. We will certainly be engaging them, the individuals in opposition. As you heard me say, the city of Wichita, the city council members, we represent everyone and in the entire city. And so from that standpoint, everyone's opinion is important to us. And as you heard me say earlier, whether we agree or disagree or just have a neutral position on whatever issue that may be, it is important to us. And we're certainly willing to listen, and we certainly want their input.